Cool. No hit this. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, at the Cusp of Freedom, where we discuss our perspectives on the different things you can do to become a nomad, like my friend and I. Today I have a very special friend. Before I let him introduce himself, just want to take a second to say we do all come from different backgrounds and experiences. So make sure you take whatever you hear on this podcast with a grain of salt and try to take what resonates with you in order to be like us or better. Without further ado, we'll jump straight into it. Would you like to tell our audience your name, where you come from, and what you do for a living?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks man for having me. So I'm Josh. So I'm from Australia originally. I'm currently in Mexico and temporarily living in Canada. So definitely embracing that digital nomad life. But yeah, I work for a company called Indebted. We're trying to essentially change the world of consumer debt recovery for good, which means that we want to turn the experience of debt collection from a negative into a positive. So I look after the customer service and training teams there. It's it's a really exciting gig. We get to help all different ranges of customers from a huge range of circumstances to make sure that they have really flexible ways to be able to pay their debt back, which the vast majority of consumers just want to get the debt out of their head. And my job is really to make sure that our team has the tools, the capabilities and the skills to help them resolve that as easily as possible.
Wow, that sounds a bit fulfilling, given that in this capitalist society, debt is a major issue for a lot of us that aren't educated financially to take on debt, to take on loans and stuff like that. So when you were growing up, did you envision yourself working sort of like in this debt recovery space, or did you envision yourself being something else?
I don't think many people do.
Okay.
But I suppose, growing up is really a pretty wide range of things. I think for the last sort of 10 years or so, I knew I wanted to work in something business related. That was as much as I really wanted, and I actually, when I was finishing university, I was lucky enough to work at a startup called Charging, and really interesting business. We built out a big data set to basically integrate with banks and let customers know what their bank transaction actually was related to, what merchant it was related to.
So making them more aware of their expenses in a sense,
I really just loved startup life from that. So I spent a couple of years working at a bank after that, had a great time, but definitely missed the startup life. So I suppose my three kind of big passions right now are sustainability, financial well-being, and diversity and inclusion. So
wow, those are very three factors that are necessary when it comes to becoming a nomad too, right? I think because it is, those are three big factors. So when you were a kid and you wanted to pursue business, what skills did you see yourself having? Like, did your parents influence your love for business, or did you see something in yourself that made you feel like business was right for you?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I was pretty classic. Looked up to my dad a lot, and my mum was quite successful in marketing and as well, working for a non-for-profit for the last 15 or so years of her career. But dad was involved in strategy planning, and as talk about that, I really really kind of fell in love with that and the opportunity and opportunities that business obviously has. I didn't really have a great idea of what I wanted to do, so that's really been just guided by the opportunities that I've had, and I was really lucky to find Indebted as a way to fulfill that sort of financial well-being drive.
So let's step back a little bit. When you were in college, for someone that does want to be like you, what do they need to major in? Is it business? And throughout college, what are some of the challenges someone who majors in business coming from Australia can expect? Is there any recommendation on the type of colleges that you would recommend for someone to go to increase their probability of getting into what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. So I mean, I think more and more, and to me, I wouldn't worry about hiring anyone if they had a university degree or not. look for is their skills. I know that's very much echoed by our CEO, another Josh Foreman at Indebted, that it's really more around what you can do rather than your experience. So obviously, university's got a whole range of benefits for connections and being able to figure out what you want to do and learn but yeah, I mean, it was a very kind of broad education that I got in my degree, which was commerce. So, but I think more and more, the capabilities and skills that you can learn online are just incredible, and a fraction of the cost, and really powerful in a way to upskill you and get you to where you want. So, I actually came into Indebted through a project management role, which really just kind of evolved from me starting with a graduate program out of the bank that I worked at. So I think, for me, it's really, you need to figure out where you want to go, and I suppose kind of try and map out, and some of the AI tools that are coming out at the moment are really amazing at letting you say, I want to get to this role.
Which way should I take that?
Sorry?
Which way should I take?
Which way should I take? What skills should I focus on? And I think, for now, for a lot of businesses, that piece of paper from a university is important. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be less important.
Okay.
But I think there's a whole range of tools that you can use to say, okay, these are the skills that I need for this position. How do I go about getting them?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think the days of traditional education or going to college for a broader sense of education than what you actually do when you get out of college is over. I feel like, it would be more necessary for people to have more hands-on experience, like you said, you use the ever-evolving technology like AI to try to facilitate your learning, so that there you have it. You don't need to go to college. You think companies are going to be requiring or going to be more focused on the individual skills rather than a piece of paper. I do see a little bit of drawback with that though, because in the US, for example, as a software engineer, I know some people that do get into high tech paying jobs by just going to a boot camp, right? But at the same time, I also know some people that go to a boot camp that are also very smart that struggle to find these high paying jobs because they don't have a name of the university or an accredited college on their paper to validate their work ethic, right? So although it might take some time, I do think that there's a fine line in the approach that one takes to pursue education. And again, and even when you do decide to pursue this education on your own, it does take some sense of discipline to be consistent enough to learn all you need to learn to be competent in this space. Is there any advice you would give someone that decides to self-learn, besides discipline, so that they can get a job at a startup or in a similar spot as you?
Well, I think the key thing is just you got to set aside time to commit to it and learn. So, in my job, I'm really lucky. We have flexible working. We don't have any meetings on Friday, so it kind of gives you the opportunity to spend a bit of time focused on learning and figure out, spend 1 to 2 hours on that Friday or whenever to actually dedicate that. Obviously, it's really hard in different situations for different people, but it's just kind of, I think, about carving out that time to learn and kind of upskill yourself. But it obviously depends on the business that you're looking for as well. Some being able to, once you do that learning, a lot of the startups might not require that degree compared to a lot of the bigger businesses that might, but you also have to think about how am I going to sell this and how am I going to actually demonstrate that I've learned what I've learned, because without that piece of paper it does have that less credibility, and I think you do need to basically be able to prove yourself a little bit more with say an online course or something like that with an example, rather than just if you're not going to rely on that piece of paper.
Yeah, just to piggyback off what you said, I totally agree. I think that the only difference that separates someone with a piece of paper and hardcore skills is being able to prove that you have that skill. And some of the ways that I've experienced is a good way to express your skills is by developing projects, having something to showcase, contributing to open source, or contributing to some kind of projects that's related to your domain, so that when you do land that interview, you have something that makes you stand out. But yeah, I think in addition to that, let's talk a little bit about, like, say a 5-year-old is watching now. I know you defined a little bit what you did in the beginning, but if a 5-year-old wants to know what you do on a day-to-day basis, how would you define your role at your company as a manager, sort of, like, how would you define your role?
Yeah, so I'm the head of customer experience, and what that essentially means is that I'm accountable for making sure that our tool set, our processes, all of that support our customer service team to basically help the customer. So yeah, the customer service team and the training teams come and report into me, and we are mainly focused on digital interactions. And so yeah, I suppose my day to day, I'd probably spend about half the day at the moment basically looking into, you know, what tools are out there to help us work better. And so at the moment, of course, that's a lot of AI stuff. You know, how can we use that in our chats, in our emails? How can we use that to suggest processes and, you know, help our agents get help quicker, rather than having to rely on asking a team member or a team leader on what they should do next. And then I suppose as well as looking into, okay, what processes are not supporting our team, what are the processes are not supporting our agents, and updating that. And, you know, in a startup, we're a little over 5 years old. We've got a lot of processes that are kind of being built together and they work, but, you know, they've got a lot of opportunity to really kind of consolidate that now into a smooth functioning machine. So
That's true.
That's probably about half my day, and then the other half is you know, all different stuff that comes up with the customer service team and operations, sort of day-to-day stuff. So that's like, I suppose, you know, onboarding new clients, helping roll out those new processes that are specific to that. Putting out day-to-day fires, people management, you know, all that sort of fun stuff that just comes up day-to-day.
Sounds fun. What do you think is how long have you been at this company, and what do you think are some of the most challenging things you've had to deal with through your day-to-day processes? Like if somebody had your role, what do you think is, like, you know, a challenge that they should expect to you know, to deal with if they had your job?
Yeah, so I've been with Indebted for 2 years. But previously I was in a project management role. Working pretty closely with the customer service team in that time, and then it's the last few months that I've transitioned into this head of customer experience role. But I think the main challenges with, you know, a startup or a scale up is probably what we're more accurately referring to now. But is really just, you know, everything is driven and it happens, and we make it happen because we need to make it happen.
Yep.
And sometimes the you know, either short-term stuff is prioritized, or second-order consequences aren't thought of, or stuff isn't documented. So really, one of the biggest challenges at this stage, I find, is that every time you come into something, you have to kind of review everything and go, okay, how did we get to here? Why are we here? And then that can help inform kind of the next steps that you take. So it does take a little bit longer than sometimes coming in. You know, you've got a process fully documented, and we do have a great set of processes for our customer service team, but there's still a lot of the business that we're working on, you know, building out better documentation around that. So yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is just coming into that, figuring out what's going on, why it's happening this way, and then what's that best solution to get the best outcome. So
that's right. Do you think your role right now is much different than a project manager role?
No.
Is it kind of the same, but like just like with perks and more responsibility?
I think so. Project management, I might be biased because I have been a project manager for quite a few years, but really I kind of view everything just as a big project. So,
okay.
it's really, I I think having that project management experience for a more, even though there is a lot more sort of day-to-day stuff, obviously project management, you pick up something, you fix it, you roll it out, you do whatever, and then you wrap it up. But even with day-to-day stuff, there's always that sort of improvement, that kind of project methodology that actually really helps me kind of drive outcomes and drive progress. So I think obviously, just a little bit more, more reporting into me each day, and general sort of more people issues that always come with that.
Yeah.
But by and large, I think project management skills apply to a lot of different areas of business for sure.
Facts. What do you think you've learned over the past 2 years in your role? And let's just do that for this. What do you think you've learned over the past few years in your role?
Yeah, honestly, one of the biggest things for me is just smiling and having a positive attitude can go a long way.
Wow, that's what Hannah was saying. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Hannah's a very positive person. But when you always come across stuff that goes wrong or breaks and you've got to fix it, and coming in with an attitude that is like, okay, like sure this isn't working, but how do we fix it? We always find a solution. Like let's have a bit of fun. Like what's the best solution here? And bringing everyone along with you in that journey and just having that kind of confidence and positive outlook that hey, we're gonna get through this. Like this is a situation, but here's how we get through it, and that really brings people along and
brings people together too.
Yeah, brings people together, and I mean, it really, I suppose, can turn, like we really focus on customers turning that negative experience into a positive one. It's the same for your team. Like you want to bring people along and turn what could be a big problem, a negative experience, into a problem, a positive problem-solving opportunity.
That's right.
Yeah, so no, I think that's honestly one of the biggest things for me, for sure.
Is that one of the most fulfilling parts of the job as well? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love working with people, so the ability to really engage and get that, make it a good day for everyone that you're kind of working with. It's absolutely fulfilling.
All right. So for someone that does what we've discussed here and gets to be to overlook all these clients and all these projects, what would you say you would do in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you think you would continue working for the startup? Do you think you might feel burned out and look for something else? Do you think you start your own business? What is your 5-year plan from now?
I can't see myself leaving startup, scale-up space anytime soon. It's too exciting, too fun to be able to really drive and have that big impact on, building out that business, building out the processes, having the ability to really have an impact and be, an innovative space. I can't see myself moving away from that. So really, it's for me, it's just continuing to learn more about operations, improving my skills, improving my management, and really being able to continue driving improvements and demonstrate that for me personally that I'm able to achieve really good outcomes and improve our team and support our team. But for sure, I think I'm in this space for the long haul and loving it. So I think that's a key bit to not burning out, is really enjoying what you do.
Oh wow, that's actually a very big key. I was gonna ask you, is there any challenge that you see coming forward, and any way you can, or any way of any perspective you have to not feel burned out as you continue this role. But like you said, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like too much work, and you can stay in it for the long run. Fulfilling me, right?
Absolutely.
So now that we've discussed why and how you became a nomad, let's discuss a little bit about your experience as a nomad. You said how long have you been traveling for?
So kind of depends. So I left Australia in November. I spent 6 months in Canada. So working from a ski resort, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then at the end of April, moved moved across to moved across it. So I did a bit of time in the US as well throughout that. So I spent most of the time in Canada, a bit of time in the US, working out of there too. And then I've been in Mexico for the last 3 weeks, and I've got another kind of 3 months in Mexico and a month in Guatemala before I head back to Canada.
I'm just curious because you said you're from Australia and you moved to Newcastle at some point. Did you like how old were you when you first traveled?
I'm very lucky to have parents who love traveling. So,
so there's a perk there.
My my first flight was at 11 days old or something.
Oh wow, interesting.
Maybe I've got that wrong. But it was pretty early.
The first 2 weeks.
but yeah, I think definitely, been lucky as a kid to kind of see a lot of beautiful nature in Australia and also in different places like Africa and Fiji, Malaysia, those sorts of places. A lot of beautiful stuff in the US as well. I suppose that really instilled a big passion in me, being able to see all the incredible things that are out there. So which is one of the best things about being a nomad is work during the week and explore these amazing places on the weekend.
Do you feel like traveling earlier in life gave you an advantage, whether it's like being able to adapt, being able to be curious? Like, do you think it gave you like some kind of advantage in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to go. I did a very cliched Australian thing. I did, took a gap year, a couple of years into uni. Went and did a 3 months backpacking around Europe. Did another snow season there, just working in a hospitality job, actually in Japan. But that when I was kind of 19 or 20 was really key in allowing me to I suppose again, very cliched, but kind of learn more about myself, like be comfortable being alone, like being out of my comfort zone, experiencing new things, and all of that stuff is pretty key to me for being successful in your career, being able to kind of drive yourself and change, be adaptable, go with the flow. That sort of stuff is, I see it as, if someone had a travel break on their resume, I would love to talk to them about it, because I see that as a huge positive actual experience for upskilling yourself.
Interesting. That's a very different perspective here. I didn't know you. That's interesting. You say you've been traveling on your resume. Like most people won't think about that, but I do think you're right. Though I think it does make you a well-rounded person. I think you are a well-rounded person, obviously. But yeah, don't take my word for it, guys. Take his word for it. Travel. Take a gap year. Learn about yourself a little bit, and hopefully that helps you develop the skills you need to do what you need to do better. But yeah, so as a digital nomad, your perspective, do you think, in your perspective, do you feel like more people becoming digital nomads would be good for the environment, would be good for the world, or do you think that it would be negative, or like what's your take on that?
It's a tricky balance. So it's something that I really have to think about a lot. Because obviously, as I said, sustainability is one of my passions. So I don't think there's any doubt for me, like that. I suppose living in a nomad life is probably a higher emissions life for me than if I was living back home.
Yeah.
So you've got flights. There's more, I suppose, more impact on. I'm more likely to get takeaway. I'm more likely to use, one. I'm not as able to reduce my plastic use, even though I've learnt sin plastico, no plastic bag. So it is something that I struggle with a bit. And what I kind of do really is, try to have that very long time frame between traveling. So like I'm here for a month, I'm in my next place for a month, in my next place for a month. So having that kind of longer time frame kind of allows me to adapt more of those sustainable practices. And obviously, you're not traveling all the time, and you're not kind of having as big an impact. I think for me, like more people traveling, connecting with people, different cultures, like 100%, that is a fantastic thing for the world, and being able to to learn and really share your experience, learn about other people's experiences makes everyone better. So I think overall, more people traveling, interacting with each other, and being able to work and experience all these awesome things is definitely a positive. So, but you do have to just balance that as well, I think, against the kind of sustainable impact and make sure that you're still doing everything that you can to not have a huge impact on the environment.
Yeah, I think your answer is perfect. Just to add a little bit on it, like my friend was mentioning, for example, when we travel, instead of eating out, like you said, you always take takeaway. But instead of eating out at like fancy restaurants, you can like eat with the locals to support their businesses.
Yeah.
Like those little things, like if we all do together, can have a bigger impact on where we go.
100%.
But yeah, man, your perspective on is like crystal clear and very very precise here. So now that we mentioned why and how you became a nomad, and you shared your perspective on what you think about nomadacy, let's talk a little bit about life philosophy. Is there any like philosophy that you live by on a day to day, or just like?
Good question. Really, for me, look, it's no getting around. I come from a very privileged background.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really about I've had incredible opportunities, and just being born in Australia, but B, having a supportive family. But it's really enabled me to get to where I am today. I'm incredibly thankful for that. But I really see that as it's really important for me to be able to give back and make a positive impact for those people who don't haven't had those opportunities.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So to me, like, and that obviously has driven those sort of three passions. So sustainability, we got to have an earth to live on for people to have opportunities. People have got to be financially stable to actually be able to take advantage of opportunities, learn, like all that sort of stuff. And then diversity and inclusion, we got to make sure that again, those people that don't have those opportunities get those opportunities. So really, it's about maximising that sort of impact for me. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, so that I can use those skills that have been gathered, have a positive impact on that team, positive impact on our customers, and then, throughout the rest of my career as well, be able to really drive those positive outcomes for everyone.
Bro, I just love like every answer you give. It's like it's so perfect. But not to waste everybody else's time, I'm trying to keep this as concise as possible. I think we've discussed pretty much everything on this episode. So for the audience watching and for someone watching that wants to be like you, is there any last keyword of advice you would give them as like an inspirational quote or like anything that you would give them that they can take with them and apply in their lives?
I certainly wouldn't expect anyone to write anything that I've said down. So, but to me, I think it's just there are opportunities out there. Coming in and people tell me that I've got a great life, and I have to say, I do. I love it. But there are the opportunities, and people say, I wish I could do that. And I think there is a barrier where you let life happen to you, or you can choose what to make of your life. And so we all come from different bases, and like I've said, I've been very lucky to have opportunities, but I think also having that mindset of what's stopping me from doing this, like what can I do to make this happen, and take that opportunity and take it. What's the worst that can happen?
That's real true. I mean, with regards to that, I've met a lot of people that come from, like you said, different backgrounds, and it all comes down to like a question, like a mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Some people just like they have to, like their parents didn't educate them well, or their parents didn't educate them as they should have. So like from that 0 to 70 to get that proper education, and then there's some people that like. Whether it's the environment you grow up in, like your peers you have, like how do you withdraw yourself from that environment or how do you withdraw yourself to that environment to know that there's more that you can be or more potential out there?
Absolutely. Yeah. and everyone, yeah, I think, it's a bit of a buzzword, but that, that sort of growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has the like for me, you definitely always have the ability to grow and change and not just be stuck in.
That's absolutely right. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Josh, for being part of this podcast, bro. I really hope someone watching can understand what it took for you to get where you are today and have this lifestyle. And yeah, just thank you so much, and I hope you guys tune in for the next episode.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks, man. Yeah, that was really fun.